The following program is made possible with the support of Papa John's Pizza. Better ingredients, better pizza. With 5 locations in the Wilmington area, Papa John's Pizza. Better ingredients. Always had them, always will. Wilmington International Airport. Committed to a relaxed, enjoyable flying experience. Now offering daily nonstop flights to Charlotte, New York, and Philadelphia with American Airlines, and Atlanta with Delta. Details at flyilm.com. Ruby Tuesday at Monkey Junction, featuring uncompromising freshness and quality and gracious hospitality. Ruby Tuesday at Monkey Junction, the perfect place for your next casual dining experience. And PortCityDaily.com. You can do without the paper, but you can't do without the news. PortCityDaily.com is your online local news source for Wilmington and the surrounding Cape Fear region.
Hey, high school football fans, welcome back to a new edition of Sports Roundtable, our weekly look at high school football across New Hanover County. My name is Joe Katz as we continue our late season push, the final regular season show here on Sports Roundtable before we get to the playoff edition next week. A quick recap from the final week of the regular season. The New Hanover Wildcats defeated South Brunswick down in Boiling Springs Lake 48-0. The Wildcats clinched their first outright Mid-Eastern Conference title since 1994. 6 different Wildcats found the end zone. Keegan Santos had 2 scores in the win. Quick stat really for you on the season. Burke Estes has completed 69% of his passes, 195 of 282 for more than 2,500 yards passing, 25 touchdown passes to just 5 interceptions. The Wildcats 6-0 in conference, 9-2 overall as a 2 seed in the 4A playoffs. Hogger defeated Topsail 17-0 in the final regular season game up in Hampstead, and the Laney Buccaneers beat Ashley 21-10. Jemias Beckett had 2 touchdowns, and Meek Watkins with over 150 yards on the ground. So that'll bring us to our first guest tonight, Coach Earl Smith of the New Hanover Wildcats. And Coach Smith, first, congratulations. You play the games to win the games. You go 6-0 in conference, and your first outright conference title since 1994. Pretty special here in your first season back as head of the Wildcats.
Absolutely, Joe. You know, it's a great accomplishment for our program. You know, I have to say, you know, it goes back to what Coach Motzinger has established over the last 12 years. But, you know, when we came in 2001, things weren't quite so rosy. So it's kind of a good thing all the way around. And my hat's off to our seniors for their leadership and continuing to improve as we move through the season.
Well, an emphatic victory here to close out the year, 48-0 as we take a look at some of the highlights. Plenty of them to get to. As we mentioned, 6 different Wildcats getting to the end zone. And take us through these set of plays, Coach.
Yeah, here's Ronnie Beatty with a pick. Gets the ball back in good field position for us, sets up our first score. You know, I can't say enough about Ronnie and our secondary. Just what a great job. Keegan gets the first TD here. Had a complete game by our defense. You know, we shut them out, and again, we were able to, you know, after the second half, play our starters one series, and then we're able to get our younger guys in there. Here's a pick by Keon Wallace, one of our senior corners. He has 6 interceptions on the year. Great swarming defense there by the front. Jemias Williams. Here's Traquan Age. Finally got him back healthy. Real good run. It's really muddy there, but we kept our feet under us and moved the ball pretty good on the ground all night. You know, Burke continues to spread the wealth. There's a pass to Garrett, our second score. Here's Trey again.
Trick 180 guy that obviously special guy for you this season, and now looks healthy there with that touchdown.
Yeah, it's really the first time he's been healthy in about 3 weeks. Again, Nas Brown there on a sack. Great tackle there by our outside linebacker, sophomore Nigel Hines. He's a special young man. He's got a lot of good football ahead of him. Here, Josh Flatman, one of our outside linebackers, gets a piece of the ball, and Nigel actually picks it up in the air and gets it back. Tries to score here, didn't quite get there. I think he's tackled on the 1 or 3, actually on 6.
Yeah, but you love
Look closer.
your defensive guy seeing that end zone, his eyes open up big there, trying to get in.
Absolutely. A good strike there to Lamont. Lamont, I think he's sitting at right at 600, a little over 600 yards in receptions himself. There's Trey again, out of the backfield.
We talked about the offense. We've talked about the offense all season. Obviously, over 2,500 yards passing for Burke. But on the defensive end, some guys. Ronnie Beatty. I remember he joined us on the show during your bye week, and he seems to be a key part in that secondary. And you've got a couple of other guys who have stepped up in Nigel Hines and Nas Brown to go along with some big defensive linemen. So while the defense maybe bounced back after a tough week against Topsail, that's going to be a key part of this postseason run for you.
Yeah, we're going into new territory, playing team that I'm familiar with the Night Devil because I came from the area and their talent and so forth. But it's you don't know until you get on the field and sort of get a feel for it. But yes, defense continues to get better every week. You're blending those young sophomores, 5 of them, with some juniors and seniors, and they finally they're gelling together. And just like last week, we had some letdowns by 2 or 3 guys, and they have to play as a unit so that we can be successful as a group.
Well, it seems like the Wildcats are kind of clicking on all cylinders now. You go up against a couple of 3A teams in the conference, and you're able to squeak one by against Topsail. You beat up on South Brunswick a bit, but now it's one and you're done here at this point of the season. So obviously that's kind of the message. We need to bring it all, every play for all 4 quarters come Friday night.
Yeah, that's our focus at practice starting Monday, and I think that they understand.
That's New Hanover High School football coach Earl Smith. Again, the Wildcats 9-2 overall, 6-0 in the conference as the Mid-Eastern Conference champions here in 2015. Again, Coach, congratulations on winning the conference title, and now looking forward to following you here in the postseason. With that, you have a 2 seed in the 4A tournament. So obviously the state, is really has some faith in what the Wildcats have done this year with that 2 seed. So I think that's pretty important for you as well.
Yeah, it's a good seed. We get to play at home for at least 2 or 3 games and just kind of see where we are. But we'll take it one at a time.
New Hanover coach Earl Smith. Again, the Wildcats, the 2015 Mid-Eastern Conference champions. Thanks, Coach, and we'll be right back. Hey, football fans, welcome back to another edition of Sports Roundtable. I'm Joe Katz from PortCityDaily.com as we continue our regular season finale of the show this week. Our next guest, the head coach of the Laney Buccaneers, that's Ashad Yeoman. And, Coach, you come up with a 21-10 win out of Monkey Junction against a much-improved Ashley squad on your final regular season game of the year. Obviously, good to get in the win column for a second straight week coming off that bye. So maybe just some overall thoughts on the victory.
Oh yeah, it was a tough game, man. I've been preaching that all week long, and it didn't change on Friday night. Those guys came out real tough. We were down at the halftime at 10-7. The first half was kind of rough with some things going against us a little bit, but that was all on us and our fault. And that was great execution on Ashley's part, and they took advantage of some things. And second half, we came out focused and came away with the victory.
You're able to overcome a little adversity. Jemias Beckett with 2 touchdowns. Amik Watkins over 150 yards rushing. Keemel Bloodworth with an interception for you. You're 4-2 in conference to wrap up the year, 5-6 overall. Let's take a look at some of the game highlights from that 21-10 victory over Ashley.
Yes, sir. This is the first drive of the game here. We're down. It's like 3rd and long, and we get a good block on the edge, and there's Amik, and he, they did a good job of kind of bottling him up, and then he just kind of break one, and it helped us out immensely. We had a huge penalty that backed us up quite a bit, and our punter ends up kicking a nice punt to change the field position and kind of give them a long drive. But they actually went down the first play for them and ended up getting a field goal out of that drive. Here's the second drive here, long 3rd down situation. We needed the first down, and Jemias did a great job all night long of making sure that first guy didn't bring him down. Even on his touchdown runs that he had, that they had a guy right there in the backfield, and he's a monster, man. We talk about him being an F-150, and he runs like that for the most part. Right there, that's number 7. He's our junior linebacker, Tyler Moore. He did a great job all night long of getting us lined up. He's taking on that leadership role that we need on the defense to be successful, and looking for some great things for him in the next season. that's Keemel Bloodworth there. That was the play before the interception. So you'll see that I kind of gave it away. He did a great job of reading that and coming up and making an open field tackle. That guy was tough to bring down, and he had some moves, that kid number 4. And then there it is again, the very next play. Keemel comes up with the interception. He actually gets almost tackled by Cedric Morrissey, one of my defensive tackles who had an interception last week. But a great job by him, flipping the momentum. Those guys had our number a little bit, and then here's another 3rd down right here. We're kind of checking the line of scrimmage, seeing what they're going to give us, and then trying to take advantage of what we see defensively. And again, this is Amik Watkins reading his block, setting things up, not letting that first guy bring him down, and just diving into the end zone and getting in there for a score. It was 7-3 at that point. This is that next drive from them. They actually end up turning this in some points, and that was just, again, a great job by Keemel coming up and making a nice hard stick for a tackle for loss. They actually traded tight ends, and we lined up to it real well, and he filled his gap just the way we were trying to work on it in practice. And this is the start of the second half right here. Jemias Beckett catches it. He reads the wedge. He's actually has the opportunity to take it to the house. He actually gets tripped up by Cayman Cezak right there, trying to get a little block for him. And again, I don't think we ended up coming away with any points, but that's a tackle there by my senior free safety. He had a great night in that second half, man. He came off some big stops. We had lost some contain on some plays, and we wanted to get some guys in there to try and stop that run. 75 there, that's a junior defensive tackle. Deontay Hicks, he had also a good night as well. We kind of one of those guys that you don't hear about up front in the trenches, but because he rotates in. But he had a great night of getting off blocks and making some plays for us as well. Again, this is Jemias here. Oh, excuse me, not Jemias, but Tim Gore. We put him in there. That's another guy. He's a senior there, doing a great job reading his blocks, setting us up in great field position. I think I want to say Amik or Jemias Beckett ends up finishing off for a touchdown to again get us some momentum going in the second half. That game was a very physical game, and we knew that going in. Looking at some of the way they run their offense, and that's what we like about the game of football as coaches. One of those tough physical games. Getting kind of the spread offenses a little bit, and things kind of change up. But that's a great job on the edge by Alex Den, as well as Ryan Williams. Again, 2 senior wide receivers, even though they're not getting the ball, being unselfish players and making those blocks to get them in the end zone.
Well, Coach, you're able to finish the conference schedule at 4-2. You're going to get a road game to open the 4 AA playoffs. But right now, as we see in the Ashley game, kind of all facets of the game there contributing in the win. You're obviously going to need that moving forward to keep your season alive come Friday night.
Oh, absolutely. Those guys are undefeated. They got a great defensive line, great offensive line, and some great running backs. They do a great job defensively of just making plays and tackles and trying to get you to make the first mistake.
Lastly, I think the thing that I noticed here in these last couple of highlights over the last few weeks, while you've had some senior guys step up for you here this season, overall you see some of these playmakers, sophomores, juniors on your team. So you got to be really excited to not only look ahead to the playoffs, but then in the future, the next couple of seasons to go here on the defensive side of the ball in particular. You got some young guys that are contributing this year, so you can only expect some bigger things from them in the seasons to come.
Yeah, that remains to be seen. So it's up to those guys and how they want to take it, and I'm going to push them and try to lead them and give them the example that they need to be successful.
That's Laney head coach Ashad Yeoman coming off the 21-10 win over the Ashley Screaming Eagles in the final regular season game of the year for Laney. They're 5-6 overall, 4-2 in conference, heading up to Wake Forest this week to open the 4 AA playoffs. Thanks again to Coach Yeoman. It's always a pleasure, and we'll talk to you next week. We'll take a quick break here on Sports Roundtable. We'll catch up with Hoggard first-year coach Craig Underwood right after this. Hey everybody, welcome back to a new edition of Sports Roundtable, final regular season edition of the show as we wrap up the 2015 schedule, gearing up for postseason play. I'm Joe Katz from PortCityDaily.com. You can find all the latest local news and sports information online for free at PortCityDaily.com. Coach Craig Underwood of the Hoggard Vikings joining us right now. Coming off a 17-0, your first shutout of the year for the Vikes, 5-1 in conference to wrap up the season, 7-4 overall. You're going to get a home game in the playoffs. I know going back to Friday night, really impressed with the defensive effort by your team.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I felt execution-wise, the big emphasis going into this game was just, we got to be disciplined. We got to finish this regular season before you can even think about postseason. And especially on the defensive side of the ball, I thought we did, really answered that challenge.
Offensively, as we take a look at some of the highlights, Hunter Louthan, Patrick Morrison with touchdown receptions of the game, 2 tight ends for you. And take us through these set of plays for us, Coach.
I'll tell you, both those tight ends have just done a tremendous job for us. But that's Colin Hare, our leading receiver, really our leading possession receiver. We also see Evan Allegray stepping up big time at receiver, Matthew Akins. But Hunter and Patrick both have big catches you'll see on here. Huge part of our offense. But just our defensive effort, these guys, I'll tell you, Topsail has really done a great job coaching up, very disciplined, big offensive line. So it was a challenge. And that's our senior defensive line right there. That's Daniel Brunson, Tony Moore on the previous play, Omar Jones, Dante Bryant. It's 4 senior defensive linemen that just do an outstanding job. Now, the one that just squeezed and made that play is a sophomore, Mackenzie Frazier. Again, big time in the future, we believe. Rashad Wallace on option here. Rashad and Tony, again, just, grinding it out. They really loaded up on the run against us. This is Nick Orsa. Nick's had the challenge of stepping in for Caleb Kuhn ever since he's had, just devastating knee injury. So Nick stepped in and made a big-time field goal for us there. It was 3-0 for a long time, it felt like. But again, defensive effort there. There's Cullum Crowley, junior linebacker, coming through. Here they are punting. Just good pressure, forcing the punter to panic a little bit there. And again, that's about 8 straight games that we have had block punt or forced a muff. Some different execution out of special teams. Back on the offensive side of the ball here. Brian Sasser in at quarterback. We use Sasser and Jones. Throws one on a rope there, nice ball. Again to Colin Hare. This is Zach Jaffray. I'm sorry, that's actually Carson Whittaker. Carson Whittaker coming up from the safety position off the edge there. It was a little check we had for that formation, and just a great blindside shot. So, you see how muddy it was looking at Rashad's uniform here. I told him we may have to buy him a new one. I'm not sure if that one's coming clean. But, tough atmosphere. Really just, going to Topsail, very, very wet conditions. It wasn't raining on us, but just the field was completely soaked. Again, big rush of the punt there, forcing while we didn't block it, we did get great field position out of it. Here's a 4th down. Roll out. This is hitting Pat. Great job by Josh Jones kind of selling the run there to allow Pat to get open. And then Patrick Morrison finishing not only making the catch, but finishing into the end zone. He's 6'4", about 240, and great hands, light on his feet. It's really incredible. Here's a blocked field goal. Great rush. They had a little mishap in their operation, I think, but Brandon Ray coming through with the block there. So big job helping keep the 0 on the scoreboard. Tony Allen barreling through. Again, we've seen it all season. Great knack for finding the crease in there. Here we go. Really starting to drive the ball. Second half. The scoreboard wasn't quite as clear as what I felt our offense had played. And, we got to finish. We got to finish those drives, but the offense moved the ball well. Here you see a stretch now to toss pass. Great job being disciplined in coverage. Not biting up on the toss. Daniel Brunson, Mackenzie Frazier, guys all working around the sacks there.
Yeah, a couple of big hits there. I know you talked about your experienced defensive line, but I think it's some of the guys in the secondary that have maybe helped that in the passing situations.
No
Carson
doubt about
Whittaker, Brandon Ray are 2 guys that we've called their name throughout the season this year. So kind of not too many times we can talk about a field goal kicker getting hurt and you're able to get another guy to come in. So a little bit of depth on the team right now and positioning yourselves here with a couple of wins in a row to potentially make a postseason run as long as you're taking care of business come Friday night.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we sure hope so. We've drawn E. Smith out of Fayetteville, and very good football team, big, physical, and fast football team. So, good challenge for us. I feel like the kids are very excited though. So we're excited to get out. Rainy day today, but hopefully we'll be able to get out and get some quality work in and get ready for that first playoff game.
How important is it for you, 5-1 and 7-4 overall to get that first game at least at home, so you don't have to go out to Fayetteville? They got to come here.
I think it's huge. Scott Braswell Stadium is it's a great place to play, and we always have a great playoff atmosphere. So I know the kids are excited to get one at home. Hopefully we got to show up and handle business, and then how the cards fall from there.
Talked a little bit about Hunter Lauthan and his ability to catch the football for you, to have another huge tight end, and I mean a huge tight end. Patrick Morrison's a big dude, so if he gets his hands on that ball, it's going to be tough for those secondary guys to bring that guy down.
I'll tell you what, if you look at our offense this year, it's a little different than what it's been in the past, and that's not just because of coaching change. That's because the talented guys we have, some of the most, we have to use those resources. And you got Hunter Lauthan, 6'4", you got Patrick Morrison, 6'4". Tristan Candair is just he's just a monster coming out of the backfield. So, we've tried to design the offense to where we can utilize those guys' size.
With that dual quarterback threat in Josh Jones and Bryant Sasser to go along with some of those weapons you have on the offensive side of the ball. Coach Craig Underwood, 5-1 in conference to finish the season, coming off that 17-0 win over Topsail. Congrats, Coach, on the win. We'll talk to you next week with the postseason edition here at Sports Roundtable.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, we'll take our final break of the show. Again, I'm Joe Katz, and we'll catch up with Ashley head coach Jeff Turner right after this quick break. Hey everybody, welcome back to Sports Roundtable as we continue our conversation this evening with the four coaches across New Hanover County. Thanks to Coach Earl Smith, Craig Underwood, and Ashad Yeoman for joining us earlier in the show. Last but not least is Ashley, first-year head coach Jeff Turner. And Coach Turner, I know, a tough way to end the season, that 21-10 setback to Laney. But in the game, 10-7 going to the fourth quarter, you had the lead. What was that difference maybe in the final 12 minutes of the ball game that cost you that W?
Well, I'll tell you, we just, we had the ball in coming in the third quarter, got it at the 40-yard line and couldn't handle it offensively. Offensively, we just need to sort of tweak our offense a little bit and work on that in the offseason. And then we hung in there defensively and sort of broke a little bit and couldn't get things going offensively, so it sort of hurt us. But really, I'd just like to say, thank for all the people that have supported us. The fans were just unbelievable out there that night. We've gained a lot of attraction, a lot of support, and I would just want to thank everybody for that, because whether they're other teams or not, we've had a lot of people out. They stayed till the end. Great fans, and we're looking forward to next year on that note.
Well, you kind of jumped on my next question there. Your first season as head coach of the Ashley Screaming Eagles, a team that was winless in the year prior before you taking over. Maybe what were some of the philosophies that you thought you tried to bring in this season that were successful, and what are some of the things maybe that you're going to continue to work on moving into the second year?
Well, we just have to stay with our plan, and I think it starts with discipline. It starts with off-season conditioning. It starts with commitment, hard work, and understanding, what it takes to, have a good football program. And this is something that was never there. It had never happened. So we're concentrated on that. And I think the kids, after, going through this year, will be better for it next year, that we have a conditioning program beforehand and a commitment and a desire to get to the next level. And I had kids come see me this morning, and they just want to talk about it, the young kids, and they're excited and, talking about what we have to do. Football is an unbelievable game that demands discipline like no other, and that's something that's never been there, and that's something we have to have in the school and carrying it out into the practice field.
Well, your last home game of the regular season this past Friday, you did have a couple of seniors, obviously, that won't be with you next year, guys that have stuck with that program for 4 years despite some of the struggles they had. DC Russ being one of those guys, Russell Corbin, another big defensive lineman that you've had. Why don't you just talk a little bit about those seniors and, that kind of change of mindset that they may have had moving into this season under a new head coach and, now seeing them off into the future?
Yeah, they've taken everything that we've talked about. We've had conversation on, what's your legacy going to be, and they've tried very hard, and they've for the most part done their job, and they've tried to bring us together. And they were, it was, the other Friday night was really tough because we felt like the game was in our hands, and there's things that we can fix, and the seniors, afterwards, looking at their eyes, everybody's. They were emotionally, sort of spent, and really understood what it took, to play football and felt the emotions after it, which I don't know if they ever have before. I thought it was more of before, we did what Ashley's usually done, and I don't think they expected it in their emotions. They expected to win. But the seniors, and Russell Corbett and DC Russ and Malik McCutcheon and Deuce and Gaddafi Turner and all the rest of them, they've done a good job. It's just really too short for them to be taught on some of the things that needed to be.
Yeah, and really, we've talked about this a number of times. It doesn't start just on Friday night when you're, taking the field to get ready for a big game. It's, coming to school and being prepared every day from a mental standpoint and a physical standpoint, but what you need to do off the field to get yourself prepared to succeed on a Friday night. And I think, like you said, you're trying to, right now, or what you've been doing the last 2-3 months is just laying that groundwork right now to make sure that these kids and the young men moving forward into, some of their junior and senior seasons, that they understand the preparation needed to succeed on a high level each and every week.
Yeah, no, I agree, because, when you go through the season, and I'll have time to reflect on it, but the win-loss column is something that I really want, but at the same time, I look and see how far we've come, and you look at some of those games where really, if we just done this, and it could have been and that's a bunch of them, but it wasn't, and that's something we have to learn from and be better for next year. So I think it really excites the community. For Eagle fans out there, I think they should be excited about the future and how hard we're going to work in the off season to bring more excitement and to really compete for something that has really never been, maybe once if it has, so even though the record stands where it is, there's been a tremendous amount of improvement mentally and physically, and we'll build on that.
He's Ashley head coach Jeff Turner, wrapping up his first season. I think, Coach, you've got my vote for Mid-Eastern Conference Coach of the Year, and you'll take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think having followed the team for the last 3-4 seasons, a well-improved team, and you're in the right direction. That's all I can say really about that.
Yeah, thank you for everything and your support, and thank everybody for their support. It really means a lot, and hopefully we'll see you out there next year. We'll have plenty of times to get out there. Thanks, Eagles.
All right, that's Ashley head coach Jeff Turner. Now we'll be getting ready for his second season as head of the Screaming Eagles. That'll do it for our latest edition of Sports Roundtable. We'll have a playoff edition of the show come next week right here for the New Hanover County Schools TV network. For everybody here, I'm Joe Katz, Coach Jeff Turner. We'll talk to you next time.